Victory is ours.
Hello everybody and welcome to Game 3 of our semi-final series today. We have playing on the southwestern side of our third map, Rails and Metal. It is playing double Soviets, Noggano and Scotch.
What a team, what players, but their adversaries in the north are great players as well, and they've played damn well to get to this point. It is the ace game, the third game of a best of three. We've got Prodigy and Captain S. Price departing from OKW to play Wehrmacht. That's right, it's Soviets versus Wehrmacht on Rails and Metal. What a classic pairing.
A little bit of a curveball here, you could say, because they played double OKW, I think, every time we've seen them play Axis today. Which is an interesting shake-up. In fact, game one of this series, they did win with double OKW. Is that right?
They did, yes, indeed. They got back into the series playing double OKW after suffering as allies. And that's where we find ourselves now. We find ourselves in this classic game, and we need to get straight into the action because this could be an all-time classic. This could be the greatest game of all time to wax lyrical and go hyperbolic. And we want to go hyperbolic, Dan. We want to go supersonic. We want everything to go. So the stars to align. I mean, what would make an incredible game for you? What would be a Hall of Fame worthy game? What haven't we seen in our 3 years of casting together?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I see Encirclement Doctrine is hanging around there. And this is actually one of those maps where Encirclement can work really well, because if you just look outside the base on the the southwest, you'll see, in fact, both teams have this 2 points that completely cut them off base territories from the rest of the map. That would actually leave Encirclement with a very devastating area of effect, and if no one's seen that ability before, it's it's incredible. Takes a bit to pull it off, but I can only assume it's hanging around in Price's loadout for that purpose.
In the north, we've got MG42 waiting. Grenadiers of Captain S. Price vaulting into conscript. MP40s blaring. Con Anti-H joining the party. Forced away.
It's an early pick of Commander from Noggano. He's going to go for armored assault tactics, and if we're on his player card at the moment, you'll hear those radio interceptions coming through, letting Noggano know what units are hitting the field for access. Really powerful early game tool for intel there.
Great point, and well exemplified by the commander just then. Almost as though we've been doing this too long, Dan. And conscripts pouring onto the battlefield from Scotch, really dominating that eastern position. Classic Yin Yang play. But the big takeaway for me at the moment is Noggano and Scotch, who have played this map at a high level for at least 5 years. They have dominated, and they've had 3 victory points for a large amount of time, already evaporating their opponents.
It's quite interesting because they've not done badly on the resource front as well. They seem to have connected way more than their opponents at the start. And I guess you have a bit of a choice, you know. It's like, do you want to go VP heavy during the games? Do you want to try and win by that front? Or you want to go for the resources, get your vehicles out and just try and crush your opponent? And lots of different ways to play this game, but they just handled both so efficiently right from the start.
They really have. They've done excellently well. Both teams, after a break between games 2 and 3 of around 20 minutes, they're feeling relatively fresh. And Scotch and Noggano capitalising on that relative freshness with an incredible flurry of aggression. Almost like a boxer getting a second wind in round 8. They've come out throwing bombs, relative bombs, and in this case soft pedaling with the conscripts to keep them as a full 6-man squad. They're just going to keep jabbing away at those grenadiers, as all 16 of them launch in a tactical cohesive battle group.
I find this really interesting. So, I mean, pretty much every game that we see, Price is going to blob some infantry, and, you know, that's just his playstyle. It's to be expected. We see Noggano has gone for tier 2, and for the Maxims, I think we also are starting to see this from Scotch as well. So, clearly, you know, the goal path 2 as a team, they kind of know what's going on. They did this in game 1. They kind of knew it. They had the counter ready. Maybe we'll see that again in this game.
And the counter indeed was, of course, in the shape of Maxims Ratatata and more Maxims Ratatata. Maza, famous Russian caster, would be very happy with their performance at this juncture.
Just remember, by the way, that as long as Noggano has radio intercept, like they're going to have complete advantage over the build that Prodigy and Price are using. I find this really interesting. So when Tier 2 goes up, it's going to be interesting to see how Noggano and Scotch respond to that, what they're going to prioritize.
Captain Blobbington at your service was a comment in chat just now. And that's exactly what we've just seen. But the gains, Dan, where are the territorial gains from that? I don't see any. In fact, I see that the Allies are in a pretty strong position following that.
It's just... I mean, on a map like this, there's a lot of green cover. So actually these engagements are a little bit weird. You've got the 4 modelled squads of the Grenadiers pretty much fighting across open ground to get to their positions. And then you've got, you know, like 6-man squads of the conscripts, suppression from the Maxims. I actually think it's very difficult for Grenadiers at the start of this map. But, you know, typically, how do you get out of this situation? You maybe use mortars, you maybe use MGs. They're going to try and do it purely with infantry. And I think that's very interesting as to how that's going to work.
What a shutdown strategy by Scotch and Noggano. Massed conscripts, Maxims, Tier 1, Tier 2. They've flooded the field, and Prodigy and Captain Price have been left wanting. It must be said, though, they do have the light mechanized being built, with the 251s being the likely source of the next wave in Wehrmacht's aggression. Let's see how that works.
Noggano got the notification for that half track immediately. Check his base, like Tier 3 just going up. He knows. I think they've immediately just picked the counter to what Price does, you know, to Price and Prodigy do.
This is very much a 1 versus 1, and let me explain. It's like an enlarged 200 pop cap Soviet army versus an enlarged 200 pop cap Wehrmacht army, because the builds are identical and the teching is identical. And in this 1 versus 1, the Soviet player has won, because although the 251's coming out, Tier 3 is now up thanks to the incredible map dominance of the Soviet play. And it's very, very kind of anti what 2 versus 2, what we'd usually see, because usually it's all about the, you know, the mix and match gameplays, the commander gameplay, and we're not seeing that, Dan. We're seeing like a homogeny.
I actually don't get the choice of double austere for Price and Prodigy. You know what's happened in this game is that Noggano and Scotch have taken double fuel for such a good period. Noggano's already got enough resources to bring out the T70, which I assume is going to come out immediately. You know, the half track's been snared already. It's actually a very chaotic start for Axis here. They have no control of the map, no control of VPs. They're nearly down to lower than 300 within the first 10 minutes. And that is not a good sign for how this game is going to go.
Do you know what I've seen before in 2 vs 2? 251 now teched, forcing away this Magnum. You know what I've seen before? I've seen Gold Pass 2 get battled and smashed around on every other map except Rails and Metal. They rarely ever lose on Rails and Metal, and because Rails and Metal's been the dominant map in 2 vs 2 for Company Heroes 2, it may be one of the secrets to their success. They've just been so good with their capping orders and early engagement prioritization on this particular map. It may be one of the cornerstones to their success.
There's that T70 hitting the field. As much as I say, I totally agree with you, and you know, the fantastic players. This all infantry build just seems so weak to me on a map like this, where you're playing against Maxims in narrow channels. Yeah, let's fling some infantry in there with no support whatsoever. The flame half tracks are immediately countered by the T70. You know, they should have at least anticipated that they lost double fuel. Why build the half tracks? But here's the T70 immediately. As far as I'm aware, I haven't seen any telemines.
No. 222 comes to mitigate, but it can only stand in the face of the T70 for so long. It is a light tank versus a scout car at the end of the day. We do have a pack 40 for Prodigy now, so he's having to go more traditional measures and countermeasures. Let's check out the centre. Lockdown. The east. Lockdown. Scotch and Noggano have those two engagements. It's all about the north right now. And Noggano's trying to push in over there.
Very difficult start game for Axis. And they see Price and Prodigy already selected their commanders. I think there's no surprise here that Prodigy is going to go for Jaeger armor, because that late game elephant is so essential for just pounding vehicles on the front lines and pushing units back. The interesting one for me, though, is Price's selection of the Luftwaffe supply doctrine.
Well, to be honest, with some of the meta shifts, thanks to Bao Liang, for example, with B4s being prominent once more, despite the odds, having that Stuka dive bomb is essential, and it's a good weapon.
I mean, as long as they can mass up on the left, I guess they can drop fuel, which is going to be really helpful, given that they've not got the map control. So, yeah, it's not the worst strategy in the world, but it's almost like they knew. It's almost like they knew they were going to lose this much territory.
Conscripts in a shooting gallery situation at the moment. Rails and metal, you really cannot afford to get your unit composition wrong. It is such a narrow channel of play. It's like a 3-lane map, but those 3 lanes are so consolidated. It really forces your hand, and if your unit composition doesn't stack up, nice rifle made, you're not going to find an edge. Let's check out the centre momentarily, as we see the Maxims start to encircle their prey. Does leave them open to a flank, but Scotch has that covered also.
Oh, a Grenadier. So lucky to get away with there, but it is taken down by Scotch's Maxim. Brutal. You know, I'm just thinking, though, I mean, the amount of infantry we see on the field, I actually would have thought that Price and Prodigy would be getting the most in terms of CP here. It's Scotch and Noggano leading the CP run. So this infantry-only tactic isn't even benefiting them, you know, for CP boosting.
T-70's only got the 1 kill, but it's already gone to veteran C1 thanks to a lot of health damage. Meanwhile, this half-track's gotten 5 infantry kills. Not made quite the impact they might have liked. Hurrahs into combat, pack 40s, watch on. Damaged engine 251. Let's have a look at the attack map and just get a feel for where the two armies lie at the moment. Scotch very much like a swarming hive of aggression in the southeast.
Hey, I don't really know what to say. They're about to drop to 100 VPs.
It's classic Scotch and Noggano.
We've not really got past the second phase of the game yet. It's disaster. I mean, I don't really get this decision to play double Oster, though, because they've been playing double OKW very competently against, you know, the highest levels of team players. This change is mysterious to me.
Bryce building a mortar. Oh, main gun destroyed on the 251 thanks to that double salvo AT grenade there.
Oh, can't believe he's just lost the AT gun. Way too far forward. Those conscripts should be easily able to deal with the half-track now. There's the recruit. T-70's a little bit too far forwards. Doesn't manage to escape the arc of fire from the Pack 40.
Arc of fire indeed. As it fires and takes down the T-70. Scotch still dominant in the centre though. Another AT grenade goes in. Conscripts looking strong and they take it out with the second.
Wow. What a waste. What a waste. He's still got a T-70 from Scotch, which is just springing into action. I'm pretty sure this is the unit that's going to come and try the flank. And again, there just isn't any snaring units over there in the Grenadiers. That T-70 could go in and cause absolute havoc.
Remember, of course, Price's multi-mortar build that he once used to use. T-70 just absolutely on the warpath.
It's kind of sad, don't you think? I mean, it's not totally uncommon for this to happen, but these guys have actually played very well today. They've taken down some very good players and some very good teams, put up a great fight against Noggano and Scotch for 2 games. But this game...
Grenadiers not dying to Muslim Nagants, of course. Conscripts forced away, but putting pressure down exactly where the X's don't want to be on their 1 victory point. They need to be pushing to rescue the situation and capture the 2nd victory point, but they're not able to do that thanks to Scotch's rock-steady play.
I think Scotch is saving for IS-2 as well, by the looks of it. Bringing that out early would be devastating close to the game. Noggano's going to go for a T-34-85.
Saw the 2-2-2 go
there really
down.
Isn't any contest for this.
There is not. No, this is a masterclass in 2 versus 2 aggression from Scotch and Noggano. You know, it's a perfect game from them. If only they hadn't lost those 8 victory points.
I'm surprised they did, given their performance at the start of this. I mean, they captured 3 VPs and the resources so fast. Here's Price dropping an incendiary bombing run from the Luftwaffe supply doctrine.
And there we go, your victors and the chaps marching on into the final. Scotch and Noggano.
Victory is ours.
We're back in the room, and we're ready for the final. It was fast, wretched knave. GG Scotch and Noggano, says chat, and that was a comprehensive display. Like a speed run.
Yeah. That was the kind of game I think I was talking about earlier. Just, we know they're capable of it. But again, this double Austin decision didn't